When people look back at the history of action-oriented programming on Cartoon Network, many will immediately remember Toonami, the network's old flagship block for action and anime, or perhaps DC Nation, which aired Young Justice, Green Lantern the Animated Series, and other superhero-related content. However, today I want to talk about a block in this category that was often overlooked and forgotten: Miguzi. Miguzi was developed by William Street Productions and was supposedly the brainchild of Sean Akins and Jason DeMarco, who were also responsible for creating Toonami. It was launched in 2004 as a part of Cartoon Network's new action-adventure programming strategy. Obviously being the result of the same creative minds behind Toonami, there was bound to be some parallels between the two blocks. They were both action and anime inspired, hosted by CG characters, and aired on Cartoon Network, though there were some differences. While Toonami was more mature and targeted towards teens, Miguzi was a bit more lighthearted, aimed towards kids aged 6 through 11. It premiered on April 19, 2004 as a 2-hour block from 5 to 7 p.m. on weekdays, replacing Toonami's previously long-standing time slot, which forced its move to Saturday nights. Toonami, in turn, replaced a block called Saturday Video Entertainment System, or SVES for short. Now only airing once a week, Toonami's runtime expanded to 4 hours, airing newly acquired shows Gundam Seed and Rave Masters, and shortly thereafter Megas XLR, a new Cartoon Network original. Despite seeing some positives in the schedule change, it left a lot of Toonami fans upset. Many of them still hold a grudge against Miguzi and attributed this as a reason for why they thought Cartoon Network quote-unquote died in 2004. Miguzi's premise and presentation wasn't nearly as intricate as Toonami's, which occasionally featured storylines and developments called total immersion events. However, it did have some lore. Each day, the Leviathan, a sea monster, would transport Aaron, the 13-year-old host, down to a submerged spaceship to watch the shows that aired on the block with a group of odd-looking creatures. The creatures consisted of Big Stalks, Flip, Curly, Trey, Remo, Woofer, Monitor, and Tweet. A creature named Yoke was added about a year after the block's launch, winning Miguzi's Make a Monster Piece contest. The contest had 100,000 fan-submitted monster designs, after which viewers could vote for their favorite out of 10 finalists on the Miguzi website. Is it just me, or does this thing look like the Yokians from Jimmy Neutron? Yokians? Maybe it's just me. The bumpers often consisted of the characters engaging in some sort of comedic act, more often than not incorporating visual gags, followed by a hand-drawn image that said, "We'll be right back." It makes sense that the bumpers relied so heavily on slapstick humor and visual gags, with Aaron being the only member of the group that actually had dialogue. The block's original lineup consisted of Totally Spies, Code Lyoko, the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Teen Titans. Clearly, these were all Western cartoons heavily inspired and influenced by anime. But later on, Miguzi actually added some anime to their lineup, like Zatch Bell, Naruto, and One Piece. While the vast majority of these shows belonged to the action-adventure genre and were mostly similar in tone, they were also very diverse. The programming in their lineup could appeal to most demographics, and the shows or bumpers weren't dumbed down for their target audience, with some exceptions. Throughout the course of the block's history, there were several changes made to the lineup, with loads of rearrangements and various shows frequently joining and leaving. Within the block's first 2 years, we saw the additions of Static Shock, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and the Cartoon Network original codenamed Kids Next Door. Despite some minor shifts in the lineup, the block hadn't received substantial change until 2006. In January, the block got pushed ahead 1 hour, now airing from 4 to 6. During the summer, Miguzi was completely rebranded. Aaron was eliminated, and though some of the creatures remained, the 3D environments were removed in lieu of simplistic 2D backgrounds. According to the official Toonami Tumblr, this was the result of Miguzi's budget getting shrinked. Then, in December 2006, Code Lyoko, the last remaining show from the block's original lineup, was removed from the schedule. Miguzi's final months revealed that the block had turned into a shell of its former self, and didn't entirely resemble what it used to be. There was still some decent programming on the block, like Shaolin Showdown, but the branding and schedule was feeling uninspired and redundant. The block concluded during the last week of May in 2007 after more than 3 years on the network. Later on in 2007, Miguzi was replaced by a new block called Master Control, where viewers could vote online for which shows should air during that time slot, but unfortunately that only lasted a couple of months. In 2008, Toonami was cancelled due to low ratings, and this was a clear indicator that action-oriented content on the network would slowly disappear. As for my experience with the block, I have fond memories of watching it after getting home from school every day. I remember watching it a lot in its early days, but I didn't watch it as much later on in its lifespan. Miguzi, in addition to Toonami, was definitely instrumental in building my interest with animated action shows, and for those of you that didn't get to see Miguzi, I definitely recommend checking out some of the shows from its lineup. Most of them have DVD releases, and the entire series of Code Lyoko was officially uploaded to YouTube a few years ago. Miguzi certainly wasn't perfect, and never quite reached the same level of popularity that Toonami once had, but it's important to remember it as a meaningful part of Cartoon Network's history.
Here comes the finale! Another mission accomplished.
Let's go!
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for the whole video. I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much. If you did, please leave a like below, hit the bell to get notified when I upload, and let me know down in the comments what your favorite action cartoon is. As always, I'm MonstersReview, thanks for watching, and have a spectacular day.